Hey guys, welcome to Gonky Reacts. I am Gonky. Been a tough couple months for the Growler community. Had a EA 18 go down yesterday, San Diego. Thankfully, the good news and really the only news that's worthy of actually reporting is both the pilot and the Wizzo got out okay. So they ejected safely, which is cool. But I typically don't like to talk about crash stuff. We usually cover that on the Mover and Gonky Show because well, it's nice to have Mover's take on things and the guests we have as well. But being a Hornet guy and a former Boeing employee type, I like to think I know the airplane a little bit better than most. You guys remember this year back in 2008, a Marine Hornet crashed in San Diego and unfortunately killed some people on the ground. Pilot survived, and I actually flew with the pilot who was a student getting his initial CQ qual out on the boat, and actually knew people who were involved in that accident. And basically, it was a breakdown in leadership. It was not a proud moment for naval aviation. That crash should not have happened. The end result of that accident was basically dual flame out due to fuel exhaustion. So certain things you have to do in the Hornet if you lose an engine or if you have certain fuel anomalies that you don't accidentally put yourself in a situation where you have fuel that you can't use. So that was 2008. And then about 3 months ago, we had the accident up near Whidbey, right? The two ladies unfortunately crashed and did not eject in that Growler, and they're still trying to figure out what happened with that one. All right, so hey, we're going to take a look at some footage here. There's two videos floating around that I found of the actual crash and what does it mean. All right, so here we go. Here's the first one. Let's take a look. Oh my. Wow. There's slow-mo. Hold on, let's go back. Let's take a look here real quick. All right, there's a still shot. So we got the gear down, no canopy, no seats, which is good. Looks like there might be some jammer pods on there. I know there's a big exercise going on right now off the west coast of California. I think that the Growler is involved in that. So all Navy Growlers are based up in Whidbey Island. So operating down in North Island tells me two things. They're either operating off the ship offshore, or maybe they're doing some maybe it's like a cross country, right? Because a lot of times you fly down to San Diego with exercise out there. They're probably working off the ship off the coast and using North Island as a divert, which we used to do all the time, or as an emergency divert. So the first question in my mind is maybe this jet or this crew had a problem. They were trying to get to North Island to recover the airplane. Obviously, they were getting close, right? The wheels are down. I don't see the hook down. Usually, we'll throw the hook down if the plan is to take a trap, if there's any kind of directional control, or if there's no brakes, right? So any kind of hydraulic type issue. But I mean, the video is kind of poor. This is the first video. We'll take a look at the second one. There's a second vantage point. Oh man, there it comes down. Look at that. Let's watch that again. Wow. Well, I think both of those videos, the crew had already ejected, which is good. Eject early, eject often, I usually say. All right, so I took a look. What is the latest here out of San Diego 10? Looks like they've already interviewed some experts here. Former fighter jet analysts puzzled on potential cause of the crash at San Diego Bay. It's too early to tell. I don't like to speculate, but I do like to think through some things that might have happened just based on my experience. So, yeah, second Growler crash in 3 months. Expert pilot analyzed fighter jets for the Pentagon, was stumped what could have led to the crash on Wednesday. For a modern aircraft with two engines, not in combat, not on a range, just flying around the crash is absurd, said Rex Rivolo. I don't know who that is. Pilot who analyzed the F-18 aircraft from 1992 to 2009. So Rex is a little dated. That's all right. I'm getting a little dated myself. So, hey, they ejected. That's great. Let's see. The aircraft was a super shining star when he evaluated for the ground roll and in the air. It is a superstar aircraft. I'm a big fan of the Growler and the entire Hornet line. Obviously, I'm biased. All right, here's a little bit of an important piece of the puzzle. Witnesses, right? Trying to piece this thing together. The two pilots, or the pilot and the Wizzo, are alive. So, my estimation, they probably already know exactly what happened, and they're just doing the proper investigation. So basically, eyewitnesses said they heard the plane flying above them in an unusual way. It was super loud, and it just cut out like there was no noise after that. So I was like, "What was going on?" said Carrie Hines, who lives on a sailboat close to the crash site. Lucky you, Carrie, living on a sailboat in San Diego. So no noise indicates the engines aren't running, which in my mind, the only way that would cause a Growler to become silent while flying is if the engines are done, and that's usually fuel exhaustion. So uh, I don't know. I'm digging a little bit in my memory, but in the Hornet, generally speaking, if you lose an engine, it was always a good idea to hit the fire light on the engine that you shut down, just to close off all the fuel shutoff valves and make sure you get all fuel available. And the transfer process works well for the operating engine. The other thing that came to mind when I saw this was, since gears down, and it appears to me like maybe they had a problem with the boat, and the boat was like, "Hey, your signal is divert to Navy North Island." They're on their way back to North Island with maybe again single engine condition. We had an accident when I was on the Stennis where Marine Jet lost an engine, and in the F-18, and I'm thinking back again, I'm pretty sure the Super Hornet Growler is all the same. One engine quits, the other engine picks up the hides, right? So you have one engine operating all your hydraulics, but there's these things called switching valves that basically switch over to the good engine. So you have good hydraulics. And we were always taught to keep the engine RPM up a little bit to keep those switching valves switched in the correct direction, basically. And if you didn't, possibly the switching valve would revert back to normal, and that would be bad because normal means it's back to the engine that you had just shut down is dead, and then you would lose the hide. So that's exactly what happened. So we had a Hornet lose an engine behind the ship. He's coming back, and for whatever reason, the switching valves failed, and the airplane went out of control. And luckily, the pilot ejected and he was fine, but he ejected inverted 1,500 feet, got a half a swing in the chute, and he was wet. I spoke to him after. He's a buddy of mine and went through flight school with him, and he literally said he pulled the handle and he was wet. So, looking at this type of scenario here, maybe if it's the jet's legit quiet, the engines aren't running, strong chance fuel exhaustion. Why that happened, who knows? Or like I said, possible single engine condition where maybe the switching valves didn't work. In the Super Hornet and in the Legacy Hornet, Legendary Hornet, when you'd shut down the engines, we would always do a check to ensure that the switching valves worked. So dig in the Legacy Hornet, once the hides rolled down to a certain PSI, we just gently pump the stick and look for any cautions or issues. And in the Rhino, I think we go flaps full once the hides hit, I forget, 1,500 PSI, something like that. We would do a check on shutdown to ensure that the switching valves worked. And if they didn't, we'd fire up the engine, because we would do this with one engine running. So we'd shut one down, do the switching valve check every flight. And if it didn't work, we'd fire the shutdown engine back up, do the test again. And the rule was, if it failed a second time, jet's down, you'd write it up and fix it. There were occasions where, it's like, do it again, right? We keep doing it until it would pass, which is not the way you want to do it. I'm ashamed to say that maybe I'd done that once or twice, but the right answer is, fail once. If it didn't reset properly, you write it up. So, but anyways, I'm not saying maybe the Growler guys did this operationally. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But the good news, hey, we got two good chutes. They can still build Growlers. We can't replace people. So that's all we got right now for the Growler crash. Maybe Monday we'll bounce this off of Mover, and if we are able to have a guest on the show, probably have a little more info out by then. But hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.